today's a big day for the New York Giants. If by 4 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock our time, they don't come to a long-term agreement with Saquon Barkley, their star running back, he's franchise tagged. That's an NFL rule. They probably have to sign him to a long-term contract. That's what they're doing today. So Daniel Jones' worst year, lowest passer rating was in 2020. That was the year that Saquon Barkley played like a game and was hurt. So the Giants, and by the way, this is what happens when you have a very average quarterback that you've committed nearly $40 million a year to, and for you to be good, he has to flourish, and they're totally dependent on Saquon Barkley being here. In fact, we have a graph that we'll put up right now. Last year, I mean, this is the, fourth year of Daniel Jones. Justin Herbert, Burrow, Mahomes, they pop early. Jalen Hurts pops in year 2. 4 years in, if he has less than 100 yards rushing behind him, he's bad. 86 passer rating, 5-7-1. He is totally dependent on a run game, and Saquon Barkley's obviously great. So this is really, though, the Giants are, and I know you think I'm picking on New York, but it is, again, an illustration of why New York teams are always, seemingly for the last decade, a mess. They've got lots of money. They think they can buy championships. But the Giants had an owner, and it looks like, though it will be denied, that he meddled in these negotiations and signed him to a long-term deal because he looks like Eli Manning and had the same college coach as Eli Manning, and he can sense Eli Manning, and Eli Manning took a while to get going, but Eli Manning was a lot more talented college quarterback than Daniel Jones. Now, this is also a Giants team where the coach and the GM, currently both very good, are trying to recover from a previously incompetent head coach, an incompetent general manager. And it's also a roster, Jets too, where most of your talent is on the wrong side of the ball. But at least the Jets go out and get Aaron Rodgers. The Giants are now stuck with Daniel Jones. Add in, and you see this all the time with New York teams, unrealistic expectations. The over-under for the Giants is a very reasonable 7.5 wins. I'd bet the under. 7-10. I'd bet the under. My guess is J-Mac would bet the under. And why are they in this mess? Because Dave Gettleman tried to buy a bunch of players, and almost none of them worked. So smart teams like the Chiefs come in and get Tony. He'll be highly productive, and the Giants couldn't figure out how to make it work. Welcome. The baseball teams, the Yankees are now tied for last place. The Mets are unraveling. Huge payrolls. Nobody can hit. Your basketball team, the Brooklyn Nets, was a disaster. They tried to buy relevance. Classic New York. And the Jets are trying to get Aaron Rodgers to solve their long issues. They haven't been to the playoffs longer than any other team, and that includes like Washington, Cleveland, Detroit, Chicago. And their NFL teams basically are both rebuilding, but neither wants to admit it. So what the Giants really are, and it's a bad place to be in sports, they're trapped. But in the NFL, it's the weakest players union, and so you got to be poorly run to get trapped. Like in baseball, there's nothing you can do. If you want Mookie Betts, you better sign a 10-year deal. If he gets hurt 3 years into it, what are you going to do? In the NBA, again, the players union, the players have more power. Same in international soccer. But in football, you can get rid of anybody. Could have gotten rid of Tom Brady in his prime, and it wouldn't have hurt you that much for more than a year. New England for 20 years never got trapped. They moved off players constantly. By the way, the Kansas City Chiefs, Orlando Brown, see ya. Honey Badger, see ya. Tyreek Hill, see ya. Never got trapped. The Giants are in the place you should never get in the NFL. There's no excuse for it because it's not a terribly strong players union. You can identify talent because unlike basketball, you get 3 and 4 years of videotape. You should do your homework and have fewer whiffs in the draft. NBA teams get, 1 year of college video, high school video becomes important. I understand whiffs in the NBA. There's no reason to whiff constantly on draft picks. No reason to overspend in free agency. It's not a strong players union. You shouldn't get trapped. And here the Giants are. Today, absolutely trapped. So they're going to have to sign a running back who I like a lot with a history of injuries to a big contract, or else they'll franchise tag him, and he's not going to be happy. And this all started with reaching for a quarterback who sort of looked like Eli Manning, who had the same college coach as Eli Manning, and they took a big swing, and they reached, and everybody knew they reached, and now they're 4 years into it, 5 years into it, and trapped. There's really no excuse for it. The good NFL team, by the way, Philadelphia Eagles, they bottomed out for a year. Boom, back on top. Eric, you get Rams, Super Bowl, bottomed out. This year's draft, replenishing, probably a year away. They'll be fine. That's the way it's okay to bottom out. But there's no excuse to be where the Giants are. And I think because you have an average quarterback that you've put basically $37 million a year into, because he won a couple of games against the Vikings' awful defense, now you have to sign Saquon. And that's not where you want to be in this league. I mean, the Kansas City Chiefs had a running back who they were disappointed with. They went and got a one in the 7th. They move off Tyreek Hill, Orlando Brown, Honey Badger. So we'll keep you updated on the Giants, though. My guess is they're going to have to sign Saquon Barkley because he doesn't want to play in a franchise tag. And Daniel Jones, without Saquon Barkley, this is a bad football team. It really will be. Their talent's almost all on defense. All right, so I saw this yesterday, and we kept going back and forth on this. DeAndre Hopkins was down to New England or Tennessee. And I think, a good player, he's not Randy Moss anymore, but he's a good player, is going to go to a good coach and a pretty good organization. So he should help them win another game in a wonky division. But it's more of an indictment on New England. Think about this. So I'm a star receiver, and in the NFL, you're as good as your wide receiver. Even Larry Fitzgerald's numbers came down when the quarterback position wasn't as good. Look at Randy Moss, how great he was. Look at his numbers with Tom Brady. Look at his numbers elsewhere. So DeAndre Hopkins did not choose Belichick, with 6-7 Super Bowl rings, did not choose offensive coordinator Bill O'Brien, who won a division with Brock Osweiler. He didn't choose Mac Jones, a first-round pick who's clearly their number one quarterback. No, he chose Tennessee with a shaky offensive line, running back dominant, and you have no idea what the future is at quarterback. Will Levis, Malik Willis, Ryan Tannehill, and yet Vrabel sold him on it. And that's all this was. Free agency is salesmanship. It's a little bit like college football inserted into pro football. Mike Vrabel's younger than Belichick, probably a little less rigid, former player, and he sold him. And I don't think, we're not talking about D-Hop as Randy Moss is going to change everything, but if you told me DeAndre Hopkins, now with Trey Burks, is worth a game in that division, the difference between 9-10 or 8-9, they got a very good defense, that's the difference between not making the playoffs and making the playoffs. It's a weak division. There's not a lot. There's only one weak division in the AFC. The other three, AFC East, AFC North, and AFC West, are stacked. Okay, stacked. So New England really needed him. Tennessee needed him. And Tennessee got him. Patriots paid $33 million potentially for Devontae Parker 3 years. Titans paid $32 million for the much better wide receiver for just 2 years. They don't like it, they can get out of it. So I think Tennessee wins here. And it is just incredibly hard. This is not a strong opinion. This is obvious for all of us. It's hard to win in 2023 without weapons. New England has none. I mean, if the Patriots were a car, they'd be a stock base model. You know what I mean? No key fob. Have to roll up your own windows. You'd be driving on 4 spares. I mean, there's just nothing there. Juju Smith-Schuster should be a 3. That's what he was at Kansas City. Sometimes a 2. So you're talking about D-Hop may not be Randy Moss, but at least he's power steering. He's fresh new tires. He's automated. To me, this is more of an indictment on New England again. Can't sell their vision offensively. I mean, Bill O'Brien got to the playoffs 4 different times. Belichick's a legend. Mac Jones, say what you want, is clearly the future at quarterback. They couldn't sell that over a run. I'm a wide receiver. A run-dominant team with most of their talent, overwhelmingly their talent on defense, and they don't know what the quarterback is by November. And they won. So I think, in that, there's only one weak AFC division. Does D-Hop equal one more win? I think he does. I think he takes them from 8-9 or 9-10. And that's why, we're all looking at these great divisions in the AFC. But the truth is the NFC South is a hot mess. And the AFC South isn't much better. So the wild card team may very well come from those divisions if you can get to 10 wins. So I think it's a fairly substantial move. Not a great player. He's a good player for a team that desperately needed another receiver. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.